Few characters in comics wield the power to reshape reality itself like the Flash. From vibrating between worlds to rewriting entire histories, Barry Allen and Wally West have been at the center of some of the most universe-altering moments in DC's timeline. But it all began with a simple, groundbreaking leap, a vibrational journey that unveiled an entirely new concept, the multiverse. Let's race back to where it all started. Flash of Two Worlds. The story that changed everything happened with what seems like a simple stunt. In 1961's Flash of Two Worlds, the Flash number 123, Barry Allen, the Silver Age Flash, accidentally vibrates himself right through the fabric of reality and lands on a parallel Earth. Not just any alternate dimension, but Earth 2, home to Jay Garrick, the original Golden Age Flash. It was the first time anywhere in DC Comics that the multiverse was explicitly explained as worlds vibrating at different frequencies, and Barry's little experiment became the foundation for decades of cosmic chaos. Before you brush this off as just another crossover gimmick, hear me out. This story didn't just introduce a fun meeting the original hero moment, it solved a massive editorial headache. The Golden Age heroes from the 1940s had legacy and stories fans loved, but their versions didn't always line up with the shiny new Silver Age heroes. So instead of retcons or erasing whole publishing eras, Earth 1 and Earth 2 gave DC an elegant escape hatch. Keep all heroes' histories intact, just assign them to parallel worlds. And Barry's power to literally vibrate through dimensions gave a neat narrative way to explain it. What's wild is how this low-stakes stunt, Barry trying to appear in multiple places at once during a charity show, accidentally broke open a multiverse Pandora's box. Instead of just a one-off story, it created a vibrant, expanding DC continuity where countless versions of heroes and villains could exist side by side. Every cosmic crossover, every timeline reboot, and eventually mega events like Crisis on Infinite Earths all trace their roots back to Barry Allen's molecular vibrations in 1961. The issue itself is famous for its cover art, Barry simultaneously appearing on both Earth 1 and Earth 2 to save people in two places at once. Inside, Barry learns he can tune his molecule's vibration frequency and physically jump between worlds. It's a neat science fiction twist on his speed powers that made every later reality shift conceptually possible. No more reboots needed to scrap whole backstories. Different Earths could all be canon, just separate vibrational bands on Barry's radio dial. And here's where it gets weird. That simple stunt set off an editorial chain reaction lasting over 60 years. DC's multiverse exploded, grew complicated, then demanded collapse and reboot. Barry's trip wasn't meant to be a cosmic game changer, but became the narrative lever for entire universes spinning up and crashing down repeatedly. The contrast is striking. What starts as a character playing with his powers at a charity gig turns into the origin story for one of the most ambitious fictional multiverses ever made, with ripple effects still shaking the DC universe today. And that's just the start. If you think Barry's harmless stunt is impressive, wait until you see how big of a mess he helped create decades later with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crisis on Infinite Earths is the moment where Barry Allen's story became a cosmic sacrifice that truly changed everything. Published from 1985 to 1986, it was DC Comics' first major attempt to fix decades of confusing continuity by rebooting the entire multiverse into a single streamlined reality. The stakes? Literally all existence was on the line. Before you think it's just another event comic with lots of explosions, hear me out. Barry Allen doesn't just show up to fight a villain here, he literally becomes the universe's last line of defense. The Anti-Monitor, an antimatter god bent on destroying all positive matter universes, unleashes a massive antimatter cannon that threatens to erase infinite realities. It's up to Barry to run faster than he ever has before and physically destroy that weapon, knowing full well it could mean his death, and he does it. Barry's final, supersonic sprint causes the cannon to implode, but shreds his body down to a skeleton before he collapses. That moment isn't just dramatic flair, it's the literal turning point that ends the infinite multiverse and merges countless parallel Earths into one unified reality called New Earth. That reboot wipes away redundant versions of characters and conflicting histories. It was exactly what DC needed to finally manage its tangled timeline. Barry's death resets the board. But here's the kicker. Barry's death passes the mantle to Wally West, the former Kid Flash. While Wally doesn't absorb antimatter energy during the Crisis, the event sets the stage for him to grow into the role of the Flash. When Barry dies, Wally dons the iconic Flash costume and becomes the new fastest man alive, inheriting not just the speed, but the weight of legacy. This isn't a minor side note. Wally's transformation signals a generational shift for the Flash family, as well as an editorial shift for DC Comics. Now, one Flash is gone, and a new Flash stands as the herald of a fresh DC Universe timeline. Barry's ultimate sacrifice fast-forwards DC into a new era, allowing writers to explore a linear and more more accessible timeline without the headache of infinite Earths or overlapping backstories. It was, in every sense, the Flash changing everything by going faster than death itself. The game files, comic panels, and reader consensus all show how absolutely central Barry's sacrifice was, because it's not just about one speedster dying. It's about the multiverse collapsing and the universe being reborn through that singular selfless act. Barry died so that billions of worlds and millions of stories could be rewritten, and Wally, with his own powers and responsibility, was waiting to sprint into the future. But if you think a cosmic antimatter gun and a skeleton Flash are the peak of franchise-shifting drama, wait until you see what happens when time itself starts breaking down in the next chapter. 0 Hour. 0 Hour. 0 Hour was DC's desperate 1994 cleanup mission for a timeline so tangled, even the fastest man alive couldn't sprint past the glitches. After Crisis on Infinite Earths tried to merge Infinite Earths into one, continuity problems stubbornly stuck around, characters had conflicting origins, histories overlapped, and the Legion of Superheroes timeline was a total mess. Enter 0 Hour, a cosmic reset designed to fix the timeline's creases by rewriting history itself. But here's where it gets wild. The villain behind it all wasn't some random cosmic entity. It was Parallax, aka Hal Jordan, the former Green Lantern driven insane by grief. Instead of destroying everything outright, Parallax tried to correct the universe on his own terms, erasing parts of time and rewriting events to fit his vision. Time literally started collapsing, folding past, present, and future together into a chaotic mess that no hero could outrun. Wally West, the Flash at the time, was caught right in the middle of this temporal collapse. During a fight in the 64th century, Wally faces off against Abracadabra as a white void. The void of erased time begins swallowing everything. The void keeps closing in on him until it appears to consume Wally himself, effectively erasing him from existence. It was one of the major emotional highlights of the event, shocking fans by putting the Flash's legacy at serious risk, especially after Barry Allen's death in Crisis. Losing Wally felt like losing the last link to that speed-driven continuity. But Wally's story doesn't end there. The universe resets. History tweaks its origins and timelines, smoothing out the knots that had formed over decades. Characters' backstories were adjusted, events reordered, and ages recalibrated to create a timeline that made more coherent sense. This was the narrative payoff, a cleaner, tighter continuity that still kept the Flash central, not just as a hero who could run fast, but as a linchpin holding time's fragile fabric together. Here's the thing, 0 Hour firmly highlighted Flash's unique vulnerability. Sure, Flash can outrun bullets, vibrate through dimensions, and even race across time, but against the erasure of time itself, speed isn't enough. Wally's near erasure signals that time doesn't just move forward or backward like a track to run on, it can unravel completely beyond human or superhuman control. That fragility sets up a haunting question. When history is rewritten, can those changes ever truly be undone? 0 Hour gave us one answer by forcibly rebooting the timeline, but left open the unsettling possibility that some erasures, like Wally's apparent death, might stick longer than anyone wants to admit. The event reshaped DC's history but didn't solve all its problems. Instead, it showed that even with super speed, time is a wild and dangerous force. And if you thought 0 Hour was bad, wait until you see what happens when the Flash tries to change history with his own hands in Flashpoint. Flashpoint is where Barry Allen's personal pain literally rewrote the DC universe, and not in a good way. In this 2011 5-issue miniseries, the Flash tries to use his speed to save his mother, but ends up fracturing reality itself. This wasn't just a heroic race against evil, it was a tragic choice, with consequences rippling across the entire DC cosmology. Before you dismiss this as just another time travel mess, hear me out. Flashpoint isn't about a villain scheming to destroy the universe. It's Barry's grief-fueled decision, his desperate attempt to stop the Reverse Flash from killing Nora Allen. That creates an alternate timeline so twisted it became the foundation for an entirely new reality. And I can prove it. The setup is simple but brutal. Barry wakes in a world where history has shattered. The Justice League doesn't exist. Batman is Thomas Wayne instead of Bruce, and the Amazons and Atlanteans are waging a catastrophic war that's tearing the planet apart. Classic heroes are gone or totally changed, cities lie in ruins, and the whole universe feels dangerously out of balance. One man's personal act cascaded into global disaster. Key moments highlight Barry's direct role in this chaos. By saving his mother, he triggers a butterfly effect so severe it erases his powers and warps everyone around him. The Reverse Flash confronts Barry, sneering, "You did this. "Not me," forcing Barry to face the horrific consequences of his well-intentioned choice. To fix it, Barry dives back into the time stream, absorbing speed energy into himself, a supercharged self-sacrifice. This overload forces the timeline to reboot, erasing the chaos but creating something new, a reality neither the original nor Flashpoint version. This new timeline became the infamous New 52 reboot, a total relaunch of the DC Comics line. Here's where it gets dark and emotional. Flashpoint isn't just a cosmic reset button. It's a story of grief-warping existence itself. Barry's tragic heroism, trying to undo trauma by rewriting history, ends up costing millions of lives and destabilizing everything heroes built. He's not just facing crises, he's causing them through deeply personal choices. The series explores the crushing weight of power without control, showing how saving one life can doom billions. And here's the ironic kicker. The Flash, the speedster symbolizing hope, becomes the architect of despair. Barry's wounded son's story bleeds into the very fabric of the DC universe, making fans wonder if any hero's emotional choices can ever avoid devastating fallout. Flashpoint introduced a grittier tone to DC. The torn-apart world mirrored Barry's fractured psyche, broken families, bitter wars, lost legacies. It wasn't a utopia or a better timeline. It was a brutal warning about time tampering spiraling wildly out of control, no matter the heroic intent. Fan reactions were intense. Some praised how Flashpoint humanized Barry and gave real stakes to time travel. Others hated how the DCU seemed hijacked by his mistakes. It sparked debates about how much guilt a hero should bear for universal disasters caused by personal decisions. Plus, longtime fans of Wally West felt sidelined as Barry's role exploded to cosmic proportions. Look at the facts. Flashpoint's impact is crystal clear. The entire post-Flashpoint DC continuity, including the New 52, traces directly back to Barry's time travel here. Game files, tie-ins, and editorial notes confirm Flashpoint as the publishing and story fulcrum for a new DC era. So the takeaway is simple. Flashpoint is the clearest example of Barry Allen not just saving the day, but causing universe-wide catastrophe born from personal trauma. It showed that even the fastest man alive can't outrun the ripple effects of his emotional choices. And sometimes trying to fix the past just breaks the future. But if a world-ending Flash feels wild, wait until you see how this new timeline launched the New 52, and what that meant for the heroes we thought we knew. The New 52. If Flashpoint was Barry Allen's catastrophic slip through time, then the New 52 was the fallout everyone actually felt. Launched in 2011, right after Flashpoint, the New 52 wasn't just a story arc, it was DC hitting the reset button on everything. 52 new series, redesigned characters, compressed timelines, and a universe where decades of history were suddenly packed into a slicker, shorter span. Here's the kicker. Barry's reality rewrite became the official, default DC universe. That means the world you knew, the long history of heroes, villains, and everything in between was shoved into a new shape, and some of those old corners got dark dusted. The most glaring example? Wally West, longtime fan favorite and Flash for years, was suddenly sidelined. His role was minimized or erased across much of the New 52's early days. Fans noticed, and they weren't thrilled. Before blaming Barry, no, this was an editorial choice riding on his temporal blunder. The streamlined timeline forced decades of legacy to be simplified, rewritten, or dropped to fit the new mold. Multiple Robins got confusingly squashed down. The Justice Society of America, the World War II-era heroes, were mostly wiped out or downgraded, and family ties that gave DC emotional depth were radically reconfigured. The Flash got a redesign reflecting this new era, Barry's origin retold, his costume updated for modern audiences, and his Speed Force connection explained with scientific jargon instead of comic magic. This fresh coat of paint was meant to hook new readers while trying to keep longtime fans on board. But the bigger move was making Barry's fixed timeline the prime reality, essentially writing out all competing histories. Here's where it gets weird. Legacy fans, those who grew up on Wally West's adventures, felt their hero was erased. Wally wasn't just secondary. For years, he defined what it meant to be the Flash in tone and story complexity. Suddenly, he was either gone or an obscure figure. This sidelining sparked community outcry around legacy erasure. When rich character histories get ignored in favor of slick reboots, the New 52 turned Barry's timeline-altering mistake into an editorial crusade. Start fresh, but lose the continuity many readers loved and invested in emotionally. This was the universe where Barry never truly died, didn't need replacement by Wally, and superhero careers became shorter and faster paced. Not everyone hated it though. Some welcomed the compressed history as more accessible, a less intimidating jumping on point, with modern designs and stories in line with 21st century tastes. But to many, it felt like an eraser was put over the layers that made DC's universe rich and lived in. The New 52 was more than a timeline change. It was was a statement that Barry's altered reality was now the baseline. It reshaped editorial direction and fan experience by saying, legacy matters, but not if it blocks a cohesive, marketable universe. That's a core tension in superhero comics, one that fueled future events and fan backlash. If you think the New 52's changes ruffled feathers, wait until DC tries to course correct and bring back the past in their next big move. DC Rebirth, DC Rebirth. DC Rebirth is the story of redemption and restoration, unlike anything before in the Flash's saga. Instead of Barry Allen's impulsive time travel causing chaos, the spotlight shifts to Wally West, the forgotten Flash trapped in the Speed Force for 10 years, erased from memory and existence after Flashpoint. Before you write him off as just another legacy character making a comeback, hear me out. Wally's return in 2016 wasn't just fan service. It was the emotional and cosmic heart of the entire Rebirth initiative. DC Rebirth aimed to fix the backlash against the New 52's radical reboot. It promised to bring back the pre-Flashpoint histories, relationships, and hope that had been stripped away. But it also revealed a darker truth lurking beneath. The fractured timeline wasn't just Barry's fault. An outside force, strongly hinted to be Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, had stolen years from the heroes' lives, breaking the bonds that made them family. Wally's decade-long absence? That was the center of this theft. Here's the kicker. Wally's return isn't just symbolic. It literally repairs reality. When Wally finally escapes the Speed Force and is pulled back by Barry's remembered love and friendship, timelines start stitching themselves back together. The lost history, the compressed 5-year hero career from the New 52, Wally brings it back like a tidal wave. He reawakens memories, restores relationships, like his marriage to Linda Park, and recenters the legacy that gave DC its soul, the one-shot DC universe. Rebirth #1 frames Wally as both victim and healer. He narrates how Barry's Flashpoint meddling was exploited by a godlike external entity to fracture reality. This shifts blame away from Barry alone, revealing the DC universe wasn't just broken by reckless speedsters, it was invaded and diminished. Specific story beats hammer this home. Wally's return triggers subtle but powerful ripples. Characters remember lost events, friendships reform, and the New 52's gloom starts to lift. The speedster who once saved Central City now becomes the personification of legacy itself, uniting past and present. He reminds everyone the Flash is not just a fast guy, but the keeper of history, connection, and hope. Rebirth doesn't just patch things up, it reclaims the universe's soul. There's a bittersweet tone here. Wally wasn't around during the New 52. For 10 years, the hero disappeared, sidelined while his legacy was rewritten. His absence felt like erasure of everything that gave the Flash mythos heart. Rebirth restores him, but also accepts the trauma of that erasure. He comes back scarred, but resilient, a symbol for fans lost in continuity chaos. Wally's return is the emotional keystone that made Rebirth resonate. That iconic scene, Barry barely recognizing Wally at first, then suddenly due to remembered friendship they embrace, is more than nostalgia. It's DC saying loud and clear, "We hear you, we're fixing it, here's your flashback." This reversal of forgetfulness holds the whole initiative together. What makes Rebirth brilliant is its layered story. It preserves some New 52 groundwork, but overlays recovered history. The timeline shift wasn't a mistake, it was a theft, and one that can be fought. Wally becomes both survivor and liberator, symbolizing resistance to cosmic erasure. His role moves big timeline shifts beyond editorial resets, making them deep emotional struggles. Fans welcomed this arc as a long overdue nod to Wally and a course correction for the line. It restored connections everyone missed, legacy, family, hope, without wiping out New 52 entirely. Thematically, it turned chaos into renewal. Here's the last thing. By revealing Dr. Manhattan as the hand behind it all, Rebirth launches a cosmic conspiracy reframing all previous Flash continuity chaos. Barry's reckless heroics were pieces of a bigger game. This lifts stakes from personal to universal, with Wally as the key to healing. But if you think Legacy Return was the end, hang tight. Flash Forward will dial the Flash's reality-warping power to godlike levels. Flash Forward. Wally West's journey didn't just stop at being the fastest man alive or the greatest hero of his era. In 2019, the 6-issue miniseries Flash Forward took him on a cosmic trip through fractured realities born from the aftermath of Darkseid War. Here, Wally ends up with the Mobius chair, a legendary device once used by Metron. But unlike what some believe, the chair isn't powered by Dr. Manhattan's abilities. Instead, Wally wields the chair's vast knowledge alongside the lingering effects of Manhattan's mysterious arrival. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. This isn't just fan service or a random power boost. The Darkseid War saga introduced the Mobius chair encountering Dr. Manhattan, whose presence shattered the very fabric of the DC universe. In Flash Forward, Wally inherits the chair with all its cosmic awareness and the weight of those multiversal fractures, but he never merges with Manhattan or becomes some kind of hybrid god. Officially, Wally's new role elevates him beyond a mere speedster. The Mobius chair grants access to near-limitless cosmic knowledge, letting him perceive countless timelines and realities at once. This makes him one of the few beings who can navigate the chaos left by the multiverse's upheavals. But Wally stays very much himself, a hero shaped by human emotions and legacy, not a godlike figure with absolute power. The story paints vivid scenes of Wally traveling through fractured dimensions, confronting twisted versions of heroes and villains, and ultimately accepting the lonely burden of holding space and time together as best he can. The chair lets him see the fragile balance that keeps the multiverse from collapsing, highlighting the immense responsibility on his shoulders. It's part cosmic epic, part meditation on what it means to carry infinite knowledge without losing touch with humanity. Here's the thing. The narrative doesn't turn Wally into the DC Universe's author or ultimate gatekeeper. That's symbolic, not literal. The Mobius chair offers godlike insights and control over time and space, sure, but Wally never achieves omniscience or total omnipotence like Dr. Manhattan. Instead, the series explores power, loss, and sacrifice through Wally's eyes, a very human perspective. Flash Forward also answers what happened to the Mobius chair after Manhattan's arrival in Darkseid War, showing it tethered to Wally's heroic purpose. It's a major step up in the cosmic hierarchy for the Flash, but not a rewriting of the universe's rules. Wally's power is immense, but bounded by his empathy and history as a hero who fights for people, not pure ideas. At the same time, the story carries a bittersweet undertone. Holding the chair's cosmic knowledge isolates Wally, echoing the loneliness that comes with infinite awareness. The series doesn't glorify his powers. It asks what the cost of carrying that weight really is, making the transformation emotionally compelling, not just epic. Fan reactions have been mixed but thoughtful. Many appreciate seeing Wally restored to a major role after years of sidelining, with his legacy finally acknowledged on a grand scale. Others worry about how far cosmic power stretches before erasing the humanity that makes Wally beloved. It's a delicate tightrope, and Flash Forward leans into that tension instead of hiding it. Metatextually, the series nods to the Flash's role in DC continuity, as a character tied to time, change, and reinvention. The Mobius chair's presence echoes storytelling control, but only as metaphor. Wally's journey here isn't about breaking editorial walls, but wrestling with cosmic-scale consequences within the universe. In sum, Flash Forward marks a monumental moment for the Flash, where Wally West moves beyond running through time to become a cosmic custodian holding fractured realities together. After endless crises and multiverse collapses, here comes a speedster who sees it all, feels the weight, and tries to keep everything from falling apart. It's the ultimate evolution of the Flash narrative, pushing his timeline-altering legacy as far as it can go without losing the heart at the center. And really, when you think about it, that's the logical endpoint for Wally's journey. From accidentally vibrating into another Earth, to reshaping reality through countless crises, to sitting on the cosmic Mobius chair, this story pushes the Flash's impact to its limits, all while staying true to what made him Wally. If that sounds like a wild ride, well, it is. But that's Flash history in a nutshell. Relentless reinvention, escalating stakes, and always a new way to change everything you thought you knew. That's the legacy of the fastest man alive. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.